Welcome to the online section of Finite Math for Business and Social Science. If you're watching this video, that means you've already found your way to the WAMAP page for this class, and you clicked on this link taking you to this video. So let me show you some of the other things you'll find on the site. First of all, the exams for this class, which are proctored, are the only things that have to be done in person, on paper. Everything else is online. So you're going to want to look at the dates on the first page of this class that have already been scheduled for the exams. So don't just watch this video because this video might be recorded in a previous quarter than the one you're taking the class in. So look carefully at the dates that are on the actual page. They are scheduled in advance, and you can take them early if you want, but not late. If you want to take them early, you need to contact the instructor at least a week in advance of when you want to actually take the exam. But otherwise, you'll take it on the dates that are listed, and those are the only parts of the course that have to be done in person. The rest of the course is online. If you look further down the page here, you'll see a link that will take you to detailed information about the course syllabus, and a link that will take you to a page about the textbook we're using. But you're going to spend most of your time in the weekly folders. So right now you can see the week 1 folder on this video, and later on there will be other folders as well for week 2, week 3, etc. And there'll always be something here to indicate what the current week is you should be working on, but once there are more folders available, it will be okay to work ahead, and I would strongly encourage you to do that so that you don't fall behind if something comes up in your life that forces you to not work on the class for a couple of days. It's better if you've started material at the beginning of each week and get done with it early rather than be waiting to the end of the week to start things. So let's take a look inside the week 1 folder to see what's there. There's more text here than you'll see in most of the weeks because there's some information about how the course is run. And there's this link to the first chapter of the textbook I've scanned so that you can start working on it even if you don't have your own copy of the textbook yet. Now, copyright rules are going to prevent me from scanning any more of the textbook. But just for this first week, you've got the first chapter available, so you can get to work immediately. You will need your own copy of the textbook by the second week of the quarter. Now, normally you're going to see in these weekly folders things start with the lesson sequences. So let's take a look in those. Lesson sequence 1A, that corresponds to the first section that we're covering from the book. And this is pretty typical of what it looks like inside of a lesson sequence. There are several questions that you can work on. And for example, here's question 1. There's a little video to review function notation, which you should have seen in a previous course. And then there's a question you can answer. So you can see here that I've logged in already before and I tried to answer this question and I got it wrong. So I can try again. Now I'm just making up numbers here. These are not the right answers. In order to figure out the right answers, you're going to want to watch this video first. But just to show you what happens, if I click submit, it shows me that I did not get the question correct. But I can attempt it again, and there's no penalty for reattempting it. So I want you to keep working on problems until you get them right. Make sure you understand how to do everything in this class. You can jump around from question to question, and you can redo things. Now, for the lesson sequences, there are 4 of them the first week. Now, that's because for the first week, most of this should be review. In later weeks, you'll typically only see 2 or 3 videos, or 2 or 3 lesson sequences, each one corresponding to a section from the textbook. Most of this is review, with the possible exception in sequence 1A, you might be new to the idea of composition of functions, and some of the terminology that's used in the economics applications in lesson sequence 1D might be new. So you should probably also be reading those sections from the textbook if you need extra resources before you can answer these questions, before you feel comfortable with them. Okay, now lesson sequences, those are for credit, and those can be done any time before the course ends. But there's also weekly homework that's due each week, and the due date will always be a Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time to make that easy to remember. So if I click on the homework here, you can see it looks a little bit like the lesson sequences, except there's no lesson. It's just a question for you to answer. In this first week, there are a bunch of questions. You'll type in your answer and submit it, and just like with the lesson sequences, there is no limit on the number of attempts. Now that doesn't mean you should be just guessing, but it means I want you to keep working on things until you learn how to do them correctly. You'll have a lot more confidence going into exams if you've done all of the work and kept working on it until you got it right. And the best way to allow yourself to do that is to start things early so that you have plenty of time. Alright, and then the last part of the course you need to be working on each week is participation. So if I click on the discussion forum, you can see two threads here. One of them is the week 1 discussion topic. And for this first week, all you have to do to contribute is to introduce yourself. Say a little bit about yourself. Start by going into the thread and clicking on the reply button so that you can type a few sentences about yourself and introduce yourself to me and to your classmates. And there's another thread here that's optional, the group study area. This is a place that you can post questions when you're running into difficulty with the material on the lesson sequences or the homework. Make sure you explain your question clearly enough that someone else can understand what you're asking, and make it clear that you've done more work already on the problem than you're asking someone else to do. Make it clear that you're not asking them to show you how to do the problem, but that you've actually thought about the question and you have specific questions you want to ask, not just how do you do number 8. Also, be as specific as possible about where the question's coming from. Is it from a lesson sequence? If so, which one? Is it coming from the weekly homework? If so, which question is it? This will help your fellow classmates and me when we try to answer your question. When you log in here and you see questions that you think you know the answer to, you should also be trying to help your classmates by answering those questions. You'll find it helps you to remember things once you've taken the time to try to explain it to somebody else. Alright, and then finally, there are some recommended additional problems from the textbook that you can do for practice, but those are just recommended. They are not required. You're not going to turn those in. The more practice you do, the more comfortable you'll be with the material, the better you'll do on exams. But this is entirely optional, and these are all odd-numbered problems so that you can check your answers in the back of your textbook. Okay, so again, to review, the components of this class are the written exams, which are done in the testing center, or if you're taking this class from afar, you'll set up arrangements for an alternative proctoring site by emailing the instructor. And if you otherwise you'll take them at the testing center on main campus. And you'll also have the lesson sequences, the weekly homework, and participation in the weekly discussion question. All of that is part of your grade. And if you do all that and you don't fall behind, you should have a very good quarter. Okay. Good luck, and I look forward to working with you.